Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekly morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we've got a very special announcement coming out of none other than the shareholders of Amazon, one of the world's largest companies, at one point the world's largest company. It looks like Amazon has a plan coming forward that the board of directors is going to have to consider, and the shareholders are going to have to consider, for Amazon to allocate 5% of its cash holdings into Bitcoin. Which, in case you don't know, Amazon holds about $600 billion in cash. 5% of that would be to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars of investment. And obviously, you'd have one of the largest companies on planet Earth buying into Bitcoin. So just the news of that alone would be massive. Today, we're going to be talking about that plan, what it would mean for Bitcoin. And we're going to talk about why this $104,000 all-time high that we set a little over a week ago is nowhere near the all-time high that we're going to hit eventually in this bull market. And why I think it would be absolutely silly to begin selling Bitcoin right now. I don't think this cycle is over. I think there's a lot more to come. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that because there are so many bullish fundamentals right now in Bitcoin that I want to catch you guys up on. Moving here into Christmas, we've got a really great time to be in cryptocurrency. We're continuing to dollar cost average into Bitcoin, continuing to make investments all over the place, and I want to help see you guys thrive. So we're going to talk all about that and more today. Good morning to everyone who's tuning in. If this is your first time here, my name is Jeb McAfee. I've been working in the cryptocurrency space for over 7 years now. And it's my dream to help see people flourish. I think Christian love shows itself through the desire to help human beings flourish. And that's what I want for you. I want you to flourish. I want you to flourish financially. I want you to be extremely prosperous. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do here on this stream. So if you want to learn how to succeed with money, then come and join us on our mission to help solve the world's financial problems one family at a time. That is our mission statement. Go and share it. Go tell the whole world about it. Say Crypto Jeb, Financial Sovereignty Academy, McAfee Media, use whichever one of our names you want. Tell them that that's what we're all about. Bring people in, say, listen, we've got a movement. We've started something here. We are freaking serious, man. Have you looked around lately? Who's ever watched Monk? I'm going to drop a reference. It's the jungle out there. Right? Who's seen that show? Who knows the lyrics of that? People think I'm crazy to worry all the time. You paid attention, you'd be worried too. Dun dun. The world's a freaking mess. Pick your head up. It's a disaster out there. There are people hurting. Have I woken you up? Good morning. Good morning. Headphone users, I'm sorry. You're going to have to go get hearing aids now. Maybe I'll help you make some money to go buy some. The world is screwed up. We sit here and act like we can just go, I got myself a Lamborghini, I don't care. And we're so self-freaking centered. Let's not forget, it's not our money, it's God's. We're going to make some money, and we're going to use it to help some people, period. That's what we're here for. So let's do it, man. Amazon Bitcoin investment plan under consideration for 5% asset allocation. Whoa. That's amazing. Going to read a little bit of this. Amazon shareholders have filed a proposal for the company to invest some of its assets in Bitcoin, citing the cryptocurrency as an inflation hedge and a means of diversifying a portfolio. So, a couple of key points to note here. This is the Amazon shareholders. Not all of them, but a group of Amazon shareholders have put forward this proposal for the leadership at Amazon to decide on. And obviously, Amazon being a publicly traded company, this would be decided on by the board, right? And so this would allow for a huge amount of assets that Amazon has to be put into Bitcoin. This is a plan for 5% of Amazon's assets to be invested into Bitcoin. That totals about $585 billion in total assets, with $88 billion sitting just in cash and in bonds. Bonds are barely keeping up with inflation. Cash is obviously going down in value, and proponents say that Bitcoin outpaces traditional assets such as corporate bonds with its astonishing growth, 131% in 2024 and 1,200% in the past 5 years. If you annualize the year-over-year return for Bitcoin over the last 10 years, you're looking at 125% growth. Now, some years you had 800 or 1,000% growth. Some years you had negative 80%. But when you're dealing with a large company like Amazon, they're not looking at what happens next year. They're looking at what happens over the next decade. That's the kind of decisions they're making. They're making 5-10-year plans. So they're not needing to look and say, we might go into a bear market. Who cares? We're going to hold on to this for a long time. The larger you get, the longer your time horizon becomes. Right now, generally, you don't have multi-100-year time horizons, because by the time you reach the return, then you're dead, and the person that's making the plan doesn't care because they're going to be dead, and so are their kids. But generally, as you become more wealthy, time horizons go from what's going to happen in the next few weeks and the next few months to what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. That's how people actually build wealth, is by making investments. You can if you're Amazon, they have a $5 trillion distribution network the globe over, where they can snap their fingers and a package is delivered within a couple of days. It took them years to build that. They've got ports, they've got boats, they've got airplanes, they've got airports, they've got factories, they've got all kinds of stuff, all kinds of distribution facilities. They've got like 500 million of those Sprinter vans, those gray Sprinter vans with the blue smile on them, right? They've got all kinds of stuff like that. You buy something like that, it's not going to ROI except for, it might take 5-10 years. When they were building that distribution network, there was no ROI immediately. In fact, Amazon dropped 98% of its value in the late 90s because they had a long-term time horizon. It's baked into Amazon's DNA to say, hey, this isn't going to make any money anytime soon. But I'll tell you what, it's going to make money eventually. And when it does, oh my goodness, we're going to be top dog. And Amazon, it makes sense that Amazon will be the company to get into Bitcoin, because they, as I said, are the masters of long-term time horizons. And so I can actually see this plan being approved, or some version of it. Now, I'm not going to read all of it, because I just kind of want to give you the high level here and then direct you to some further reading. But this is the plan right here. This was found and can be found on CoinMarketCap. It's actually, just go to CoinMarketCap. It's literally sitting like right over here in the news section. CoinCU. But you can click down here and see the actual plan itself right here where it says filed. Right, and that'll take you over to X. And then you can click and you can read this. Right, it's a very, very interesting plan. And it basically just says, hey, look, Bitcoin has performed way better than the corporate bonds you have all of your wealth in. They cite MicroStrategy and how well it has succeeded, and a lot of other companies have succeeded in doing this. They're saying that the CPI is showing a lot of inflation, and it's also not a very good measurement of inflation, and basically Bitcoin's the answer. So that's the too long didn't read version of this article, and it's a big deal because it does indicate that we may be seeing Amazon stepping into the space. We already don't have total confirmation, but we already it already seems to look like the United States government is going to be acquiring a strategic national reserve of Bitcoin to smoothen out market fluctuations and potentially even on into the 2040s help pay down the United States debt. So it looks like nations and companies around the world are on the verge of acquiring strategic stockpiles of Bitcoin the same way that they may have done with gold before. But the interesting thing to consider here, Amazon never had a gold stockpile. Right? They're not going from gold to Bitcoin. They're going from nothing, or actually what they're going from is bonds, which is faith in the government, potentially, again, it's not approved, but to Bitcoin. And the reason that's very important is because we're now starting to see, and we've been seeing this for a long time, but we're continuing to see Bitcoin step into place where you would have thought gold would be. You would have thought that Amazon would hold gold to counteract inflation. Instead, they held bonds, because gold is not a very good way of storing value. People think, oh, gold's a great way of storing value. There are some years gold's supply inflates more than the dollars. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Peter Schiff won't tell you that over on his little Twitter account. There are some years it grows by 3-4%, when inflation's at 2 or 3%. So you actually lost money buying gold if you don't account for the actual market fluctuations. And also, gold's got one other big problem. It's heavy. It's heavy. Yeah, what do you mean? Well, you can't just send it over the internet. You got to put it on a plane, and you got to buy a security detail if you want to move $100 million of gold. By the way, you're going to get robbed, right? You got to have like a private military contractor help you move that stuff. It's really hard to move. And then what? Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to trade an ETF of it. Well, then you got to deal with custody. I mean, you have to deal with custody on Bitcoin anyway, but at least you can self-custody it if you want. And then you have to go through the traditional financial system. Right? So there are a lot of drawbacks to using gold for this, which is why companies don't use gold for this. They go to bonds. But a lot of companies are probably going to start going to Bitcoin instead of bonds because they can expect that the return, the annualized return on Bitcoin is going to be higher than the interest rate return on the bond, which, by the way, would be great because it would mean that the United States government, if we did transition to a society that used bonds less and Bitcoin more, it would mean the United States government would have a hell of a lot harder time raising capital to fund its debt. Because in case you didn't realize, when you buy a U.S. Treasury, which is different than a bond, but when you buy a U.S. Treasury, which people buy them for the same reason, when you buy a Treasury, what you're doing is you're loaning the United States government money, which is why I don't have any problem with you buying Treasuries because it is a form of debt, but you're the lender. You're lending the United States government. You can do that all you want. The borrower is slave to the rich. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. The Bible's saying in Proverbs 22:7 there, the rich is the lender, the poor is the borrower, right? So make the government poor all you want, I guess. The point is, if we see our society move away from things like bonds, which is basically a corporate version of the same thing, and treasuries, then what you're going to see is that it's going to be harder for these companies or the United States government to raise debt, which would be a great thing. Bitcoin, in this instance, has the ability to attack the United States government's addiction to debt by removing some of the inflow of treasuries, which means that treasury yields have to go up, which means if you do buy a treasury, you're going to get a better rate, or two, the United States government just won't be able to finance as much of its won't be able to fund as much of its debt as it was before, which would be good for the overall finances of the United States government, which was always going to happen. The U.S. government was always going to run into a problem with debt. I would love to see Bitcoin be a part of that solution so that the government has to cut down on expenditure so government stops trying to be God. Anyway, you just go ahead and put that soapbox right back under and we'll keep going. So what would this do to Bitcoin? What would this do to Bitcoin? If Amazon did start acquiring Bitcoin, that would send Bitcoin to the, how do we say it in crypto? I've been here for almost 10 years. I forgot. Oh, to the moon. That's it. That's the word. Bitcoin would go to the moon. There you go. Okay, so what would that actually look like, though, without the hype boy mentality here? Here's the overall picture. Let's spend 30, 60 seconds reviewing the last couple of years and how we got here, and then we're going to talk about where we're going, and that's going to be fun. That's going to be real fun. All right, so how'd we get here? Almost about 15 years ago, someone or some group of people named Satoshi Nakamoto realized, hey, you know what? Technology's advanced far enough, we can just screw the government over. I love it when people do that. Man, technology's gotten so good that we can just say, forget you, government. And he, she, they, an alien, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto was, created a currency that was decentralized in nature that allowed you to hold your own value, your own wealth, without the need for a currency to be backed by the government, which is the most financially sovereign Chad move in the history of mankind when it comes to finances, after they were actually created, right? And so Bitcoin was born. And nobody thought it was anything for a few years, and then everybody realized it was everything for a few years, and now we're here. So that's kind of how we got here, right? People realize, wait a minute, I can have control over the money instead of the government having control over the money. Sign me up. You know how many people are libertarian-minded, but they just don't have another choice? Do you realize that the government has what we call a monopoly on power? Who else can show up at your front door with a gun and say, pay me or you're going to prison? No one. Now, the IRS doesn't do that normally, but they technically can. They can take your house. They can take your car. Who else can do that besides God? No one. But they can't take your Bitcoin. If they can't find it, they can't take it. You can store the seed phrase in your head, friends. Now, where does that bring us today? Well, the world was always going to adopt Bitcoin. It was inevitable. It was inevitable. Why was it inevitable? Well, because of what I just said. Financial sovereignty is baked into the fabric of the universe because God made it that way. Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Hello, I love you, so make a society. And with that society, subdue the earth and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. 2 commands. First 2 commands ever given to mankind by God the Creator, right after he made everything. Build a society. Use it to dominate the world that I just created so that you will flourish. I want you to have a good life here on earth because God loves you and wants you to have a good life. So dominate the land and use it for your own benefit. Don't be cruel to it. Don't misuse it. Don't be a jerk. Don't be abusive. Don't abuse animals. None of that. Don't abuse the land, but rule it as kings and allow it to serve you. It's financial sovereignty. It's baked into the fabric of the universe. Once again, the government comes along and tries to play God, and they do that with a currency. Currency was never supposed to have government in the definition. If you go and look up the word currency, I know we're doing a lot of kind of doctrine or whatever here, but I want you to get this because this all does play into Amazon. I know you're probably thinking, Jeff, oh my gosh, why are we doing it? You've got to understand the why behind Bitcoin. We made a series a long time ago called Why Bitcoin, and it bombed. It got a lot of views, but it bombed. I didn't like it. The reason I didn't like it is because we got all into, oh, let's get the SHA 256. Oh, let's get No! Do you have any idea how your computer works? No. Do I? No. I just know that it does, and I know that it helps me. Do you understand why Bitcoin? Here's why Bitcoin. Because people were hard-coded by their creator to have control over their money. Well, Jeff, how do you know that? Because the Bible tells me so in Genesis 1:28. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Subdue the earth. Be in control of the earth. So that's the non-living part. Subdue the earth, the material part. Have dominion over the living part. Be in control of the earth. Be kings over the living. That's what it says, which is a way to say everything in creation. Have control over it. Government was never supposed to have, government was never supposed to be in the definition of the word currency. Watch. Let's look up hard money. Watch this. And again, we're going to get back to Amazon. You're going to see this. Right? Let's see if they have it. Hard money, as defined by Merriam-Webster. Money that comes from who? A country with a strong government and economy, and that is not likely to lose its value. Do you see what was inserted there? This definition should only say money that comes from. Money that, well, actually, I shouldn't even say comes from. Money that is not likely to lose its value. Comes from a country with a strong government and economy should not be there. The dictionary is wrong. Jeb, who are you to say the dictionary is wrong? Oh, God. I'm not. God is. Is he not Lord over Merriam-Webster, as he is over my life? Yes. And he says, subdue the earth. He says, subdue the earth and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. Am I trying to take the authority away from the government? No, I'm not. Am I saying the government has overstepped in its authority over our currency, and have they screwed it up royally? Yes, they have. And so people are attracted to Bitcoin because in their heart of hearts, they realize that the government's misuse of the currency is not right. And so they want a way of having a hard money that is based on the laws of physics and based on the laws of money rather than based on the laws of fallible man. And that's why Bitcoin is successful. And that's why you will eventually see Amazon buy Bitcoin. I bet money on it. You will eventually see Amazon buy Bitcoin. You will eventually see the United States government buy Bitcoin. You will eventually see the Eurozone buy Bitcoin. You will eventually see Britain buy Bitcoin. You will eventually see Canada buy Bitcoin. You will eventually see Australia buy Bitcoin. There is nothing else under the stars like it except gold. And gold does not do as good of a job at being Bitcoin as Bitcoin does because Bitcoin gets to be digital while following the exact same laws of money of hardness, medium of exchange, and store of value. It does the same thing better. Not knocking gold, it's a good investment. Bitcoin's better. And so these companies will, and you see why this all matters now. Now I'm explaining to you why I can say with confidence whether this proposal gets approved or not based on the natural human desire to have control over their wealth. A plan like this will eventually be approved. A plan like this will eventually be approved. And so what will it do to the price? Now that we've explained the why, now that we've explained why this is coming, now we can talk about what it'll look like. So you see how we started out here? We're like, oh my goodness, we've got to understand the basics of human psychology, the basics of how we were wired as human beings so that we can understand whether or not this is going to happen. Now, after we've decided based on the way humans are wired that this is coming, then we can talk about what it'll look like when it does. And from there, then we can extrapolate what should we do about it. That's how we do almost every stream here. This is how God made humans. So this is going to happen, a prediction. This is an observation of what God did. With that observation, it's scientific. We make a prediction about this is what humans are going to do. If humans will do this, then we make a prediction again, which is this is what will happen if the humans do this. And if the humans do this, and if this happens because the humans did that, then that's what we should do so that we can profit from it. And that allows us to peer into the future through, what do we call it? We call it wisdom. What is wisdom? Well, wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. Well, how do we understand what that means? If we fear the Lord, then we will have the wisdom to see what's coming. I fear the Lord. I know that robbing a bank's a bad idea, so I can tell you if that guy robs a bank and doesn't repent, he's going to burn for it. I have wisdom, so I can say the Bible says if you give your life to Jesus Christ, I can see that person going to heaven. That is wisdom. It's the ability to appear in the future and know what's going to happen and prepare for what's going to happen today. That is what wisdom is. And with wisdom, I can tell you human beings crave for hard money that does not lose its value over time to a government that thinks it's God. And so a technology that strips that power away from government and puts it in the laws of money and the laws of nature and the laws of code, not the laws of code, but uncrackable, unhackable code, was always going to succeed. That's why I have been and maintain being a strong, firm believer in Bitcoin. People are like, Jeb, well, you're a Christian. Do you think it's a one world currency? No, because the one world currency is going to be controlled by somebody. Bitcoin can't be controlled. I don't think it is. If it was, I wouldn't do it, but I don't think it is. I don't see how it could be. Doesn't make sense to me. People long for this. And so we can make a very, very, very clear prediction based on our biblical wisdom. Jeb, why do you bring the Bible into this? Well, because if I remove the foundation, the whole house falls down. Come on, guys. I can make an observation based on the biblical wisdom that I have, understanding how human beings operate, that Bitcoin will succeed because it taps into the human psyche that was put in them at creation. From birth, people want to have control over the things in their life. You look around your messy room and it does not make you feel good because God made you to control that crap and clean up that freaking mess. Oh my goodness, I've got so much brain fog. I'm so depressed. Go to work, get a job, pay off your debt, run a budget, make some investments, be generous, and clean up your freaking house. You'll be happier. Man up, woman up, get some crap done. Your body needs to see you making progress in subduing the earth and having dominion over the animals in a loving, kind, good steward way. So people want that. Okay, we've established that. Great. I can get off that soapbox. We've established that. So what does that do to the price? It means that the price of Bitcoin will go up almost forever. Well, Jeb, you can't say that. What do you mean the price of Bitcoin will go up almost forever? Well, I've said that about the stock market. It always has. You go back to the DJI, it's been rallying for 130 years. Jeb, you can't say it'll go up forever. I don't literally mean it'll go up forever. I mean, eventually the world will end and Christ will return and the markets will collapse, right? Tribulation is coming. Repent and accept Christ if you don't want to be there for it. But until that day, the market's probably pretty much just going to continue rallying. The DJI is up 150,000% in the last 130 years. Bitcoin's going to do much the same over the next 150 years. If the world lasts that long, it's going to pretty much do the same thing. It's going to go up and to the right forever, more or less. As human society grows and as there's more wealth built because there's more resources being extracted from the earth and we are continuing to subdue the earth, we are continuing to grow things through capitalism. We continue to better human life and expand human flourishing as we raise more and more hundreds of millions of people out of poverty and sex slavery, which is it's a great thing to save them from those things. We want to save them from those things. Evil, wretched things are happening to people all around the world. As we enfranchise more people around the world, the economy will grow. It'll get bigger. More money will be produced. More economic activity will be produced, maybe I should say, rather than more money will be produced, and the economy will continue to flourish, and you'll continue to see investments being made because as more people become economically franchised through the attack by the church on sex trafficking, on poverty, etc., we'll see more people become enfranchised, more people become economically active and be able to have internet connection and invest in Bitcoin. You're going to continue to see Bitcoin grow because of the growth of human society. And so what does that mean for Amazon? It means Amazon's going to eventually buy Bitcoin because they're a wise company. They wouldn't have gotten there if they didn't have some wisdom. They have the wisdom to say, this isn't going to make us money for 10 years, but we're going to do it anyway because one day it will. And they're one of the only companies that did that. So they're worth $3 trillion because of it. Amazon has the wisdom to make the right decision here because there is a right decision here. And the correct decision is to buy Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's a morally correct decision. I'm saying it is the only wise option to hold some Bitcoin. It only makes sense. I don't expect governments to make sense. What I do expect is companies that have had a 25, 30-year track record of making good decisions to make sense. Because if they don't make sense, they go broke. And you've got some natural selection going on there. Governments have military, so they don't get that, right? But companies, if they don't make the right decision, they get left behind. And so the first companies to buy Bitcoin have already like jumped out of the gate. You've got El Salvador, which is not a company, it's a country, but they're a good leader in the country space. You've got MicroStrategy and other companies buying Bitcoin. They're the leaders out the gate. Now you're going to see the wave of mass adoption. We are still in early adopter stage when it comes to the companies and the governments of the world. We are starting to enter into mass adoption stage when it comes to the people, when it comes to individuals. You've got hundreds of millions of people that have individually bought Bitcoin like us. You've got companies that are starting to buy Bitcoin, like our company, right? We've been holding Bitcoin as a company for a very long time. We're very early adopters in the grand scheme of things on that. MicroStrategy is a big company that has been investing in Bitcoin for a long time. They're in like $18 billion of profit, right? And so unrealized returns. And so you're going to see other companies doing that. But the company space, because of the lack of regulatory clarity and just the lack of track record, because Bitcoin's still only 15 years old, is very, very early. You're going to see companies investing in Bitcoin like there's no tomorrow over the next 5-10 years, and that's going to help Bitcoin rally up to $1 million in valuation. Bitcoin will hit over $1 million in valuation within the next 15 years. That is my prediction. By the end of the 2030s, you're going to see Bitcoin trading at over $1 million. And so the bigger picture here, which is the point, because I could just sit here and go, oh my gosh, look at this, Amazon's going to buy Bitcoin, whoop-de-doo, and we could just read the news, and you could read the news on your own. That's not why you came here. You didn't come here for me to read you the news. You can go read the news on your own. You don't need me for that. The reason you came here is because you want to see it fit into the bigger picture. The bigger picture here is this. Mankind is going to adopt Bitcoin because mankind was always going to adopt Bitcoin. Yeah, isn't that circular reasoning? No. It's not circular because it roots right back into Genesis chapter 1, verse 28 that says, God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the sea and the fish, have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air, and over every living thing moved upon the earth. If God told us to subdue the earth, creation, which money is a part of the subdue part. Subdue it means subdue the earth, which the earth refers to the material realm. Have dominion over refers to the living realm, the two realms of those two realms of creation, the things that live in creation and creation itself. Subdue and have dominion over both parts of it. We are to subdue our money because God said, and if God told us to do something, then that means we're going to have a hole in our heart, which can only be filled by obeying him. You walk around feeling empty all day. Why is that? Because you've got a bunch of holes in your heart that you need to fill by living for God. You've got a Jesus-shaped hole in your heart that you might try and fill with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it ain't going to work. You got to fill it with Jesus Christ. And part of filling your heart with Jesus Christ is obeying him. And what he said at creation was subdue the earth. And so people have this in them. It's baked into them to subdue their money. And so they realize, wait a minute, the government sucks at money. Bitcoin's better. I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. And so I'm not saying that scripture says you must buy Bitcoin or you're a sinner. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that there's a hole in your heart where you're longing to have subdued your money. And Bitcoin is one of the best ways you can do that. And so there's this natural human longing for Bitcoin, which is why Bitcoin has succeeded so much. It unlike just about any other piece of financial technology in the history of mankind, taps into the way that human beings were wired, which is to subdue creation. So the bigger picture is not just that Amazon's going to buy Bitcoin, it's that everybody's going to buy Bitcoin. So what are you doing about it? That's the point of today's stream. Not that Amazon's going to buy Bitcoin, but everybody's going to buy Bitcoin. So what are you going to do about it? Right? Started with, this is how humans work. Move down to, you're probably going to see a lot of companies buying Bitcoin. The prediction from there is that Bitcoin is going to rally a lot, like $2 million plus in the next 15 years. So our fourth point is, what are you going to do about it? We start with, this is how humans work. Then we get to, what are you going to work on, fellow human, to do something about what's about to happen? I'll tell you what we're doing. We buy Bitcoin every day of the year, 365 days a year. We got a recurring buy on, goes every day. Every single day, we're putting a certain amount of money into Bitcoin. That amount changes, but every day, like clockwork, we put money into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going to rally, because Bitcoin taps into the fundamental human desire to control money. It's that simple. So what are you doing about it? Let's talk price targets, then let's talk strategy. Here are the price targets. I think that in this bull market, Bitcoin will probably reach up to at least $150,000. I could see Bitcoin even reaching as high as $200,000 in this cycle. We've got this long-term uptrending level of it's not really a level, it's basically the line of best fit. The line of best fit here on the logarithmic chart of this bull market so far. And it's not crazy steep. It's actually realistic. It basically says in 2 years, Bitcoin 10x's, which sounds crazy, but in Bitcoin's terms, that's not very crazy at all. We see Bitcoin coming up here to $200,000 if Bitcoin follows this line. And I think it could. It might trail off and we only go to 150. It could happen. But I think Bitcoin will probably follow this line up to about 200. That would put Bitcoin at roughly, if we come over to CoinMarketCap, at roughly about a $4 trillion market cap. Guys, we have a ton of inflows. We're getting almost $1 billion of inflows a day or every other day here into the United States Bitcoin ETFs. And there's a lot more coming than this guy's. There's going to be more Bitcoin ETFs. There's going to be more countries having Bitcoin ETFs. There's going to be more countries acquiring Bitcoin the same way El Salvador is doing. There's going to be more companies acquiring Bitcoin and more individuals acquiring Bitcoin. Everybody's going to be acquiring Bitcoin. So 200K on Bitcoin does not sound crazy. Remember, gold has not managed to capture the entire globe's attention on store value, right? Remember, just like it says in this plan, Amazon, to my knowledge, is not holding gold because gold inflates. It inflates. People that have money realize this. Gold is inflationary. Oh, but we buy gold because it's non-inflationary. Nonsense. Gold is in the ground and it gets mined. It was the best store of value for millennia, but now Bitcoin has taken its place. Right? Just in the same way that verbal communication for the longest time was the primary way of knowledge transfer, then we had the written word. So man-made creation that followed what God created. God created communication. We created a piece of technology that allows for that to be expounded upon, which is in the whole command to subdue the earth. Do cool things with it, right? That's basically what that means. Do cool things with it that enable human flourishing. God created the tongue so that we could talk, and then we created the word so that we could talk to millions. And then we went on and created the radio, the television, et cetera, the megaphone, all this stuff. The same way, gold was the original store of value before humankind came along and created a technology to do an even better job of what gold started. I did in no way want to disrespect gold, but in the same way, I could not do my job without technology. It would be physically impossible for me to have a YouTube channel without the computer. The same way, the world is moving away from gold as a store of value because gold is just not as good at being a store of value as Bitcoin is. It's not to knock gold. Gold served its purpose, but its purpose is running out because Bitcoin's taking its place. The same way the verbal word will always be valuable. Gold will always be valuable. But at the end of the day, writing and all these other mediums of exchange of knowledge, of information, have surpassed the verbal word just sitting in a room, right? I mean, heck, if you go into an auditorium and you're listening to somebody, even they've got a microphone on, right? So technology augments these things that were baked into creation. And so when we augment things that are baked into creation, oftentimes the augmentation ends up becoming market-wise way more valuable than the original. It's not to discount the original, it's just that the seed grew, right? It's not to discount the seed, it's just to say the tree's bigger, right? And so Bitcoin's going to be bigger than gold. And again, people realize that. So the price predictions here that we have for this year are probably north of $150,000. I wouldn't be surprised if it went all the way up to $250,000. So what do we do about this? What we do is we buy Bitcoin every single day. Every single day. And I've given you the exact reason that I get to have confidence that that's a good decision. Now, we don't buy so much Bitcoin that we can't, that it just screws up the rest of our budget, but we do buy Bitcoin on a consistent fixed schedule. Every interval, we will invest X into Y on Z. Every day, we invest X amount into Bitcoin on a certain exchange. I won't give the exact details for security purposes, but that's what we do every single day. So what are you doing? Right? I have an enormous amount of confidence in Bitcoin. And so that's why we do that. So let's read some chat. I really appreciate all of you tuning in. And I know some people are like, Jeb's ranting, whatever. But those of you with ears to hear and with hearts to understand what I am saying will realize just how valuable what I just said is. The bottom line is this. Bitcoin tickles a basic part of the human condition. And anytime technology does that, it thrives. The cell phone was always going to be mass adopted. There was no shadow of a doubt that that was ever going to happen because it augments and empowers what was already there. Communication became telecommunication. The automobile was always going to be mass adopted. Why? Because it augments what God created in the horse. You get to travel faster than human beings by riding a horse. The automobile was always going to replace the horse because what the horse did, what the horse does, but it does it even better. At least in some ways. Not in all ways, but in some ways. It does it even more efficiently. Right? God gave us a canvas, we get to paint on it. That's the way creation works. That's the whole story of creation. God gave us a canvas, we get to paint on it. May we paint on it in a way that glorifies Him, but we are to paint on it because He loves seeing what we do. Make no mistake, God's up in heaven so long as you're a believer and He's looking on you, He's saying, man, I just love watching Him. God's looking on this stream right now saying, man, I hope I should say, I hope that God's looking on me and saying, man, I just love that Jeb's teaching on this stuff. I hope that he's saying that. He's probably up there saying, man, Jeb, you need to change the way you're talking here, and here. You need to do better. But I hope he's looking down on me and saying, man, that's so cool that Jeb is building a channel to teach people about what I said in my word. I hope that's what God's saying. And so it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was always going to be adopted. It is an inevitability. It's an inevitability. As soon as the technology came online for pure drinking water, that was always going to be adopted. It's a duh. The incandescent light bulb was always going to be adopted. It's a duh. Penicillin, modern medicine, was always going to be adopted. Duh. Because the advance of technology is designed to expand human flourishing. So Bitcoin was always going to be adopted. Duh. In 20 years, we're going to say, well, duh. Right now, people are saying, huh? But in 20 years, they'll say, duh. And we're able to see into the future on that because of the wisdom that we have to understand how humans work and the way that the advancement of technology works. Technology advances for one reason, because it advances human flourishing. Period. That's the reason that technology advances. Let's read some chat here and we'll watch the chart. Bitcoin is going through a bit of a drop right now. Am I worried? No. Does it really matter? Not really. Bitcoin tried to get back up above $100,000. Let's talk about this a little bit. Bitcoin has been sitting here and just kind of dancing around 100K for a while. Bitcoin may need a bigger correction. It may need a bigger correction so it can have a bigger run up at $100,000. If it drops well below 100K, then I'm going to buy some. No big deal. Just going to buy some. That's simple. That's simple. Let's read the chat while we look at the chart. Here, we'll put it on the minute chart and just kind of watch it. All right. Thoughts on USDT? Use it sometimes. I typically hold things in USDC. Justin Shaw said, Jeb, hi. Hey, let's look at the chart. Yeah, let's do that. It was all lost in a boating accident last week. The banks. Oh my gosh. Let's see. You call it a BitBoy rant. It's information and education you don't know or fail to step outside of your tiny box to learn yourself. No, I mean, that's the thing, guys. I don't in any way want to exalt myself. I'm just saying that I have knowledge that you may not have, and I want to impart it on you. In the same way that you have knowledge that I might not have, and I want you to impart it on me, right? Let's say one of you guys is a plumber, and I need plumbing done. I can do some plumbing, but I'm not an expert there. Like, I would need you to come and teach me how to do that, or better yet, I just need you to do it, right? So I in no way want to make myself out to be better than you guys. I just want to share what I do know. And I do know these things, and they are true. And you will be blessed if you follow them and listen to them. Some will call me prideful for saying that. Others will call me faithful to the word of God for saying that. Hashtag FinSov, hashtag DCA, hashtag HODL. Amen. Let's see. The fastest horse is not always the winner. That's right. Just follow global liquidity and the NASDAQ. It tracks almost 95%. Maybe it uncouple someday, but for now it's highly correlated. Yep. $910 trillion in the world, and Bitcoin is worth only 0.05% of global assets. Yeah, that's going to change. That's going to change. That's going to go a lot higher. All right. Why didn't you tell God about your ADHD? I did. He said I made you that way. Oh, I love just turning something around on people. I did. And he said I made you that way. That's pretty much that conversation. You guys are getting something worth way more than Bitcoin right now. Yeah, you are. Because if you understand what I just said, you'll never worry about whether or not you should buy Bitcoin on the dip ever again. I'm giving you something much more valuable than technical analysis, which, by the way, there's over 3,000 videos on this channel of technical analysis. There's no short supply of TA on this channel. I'm giving you something worth more than TA, and that is confidence that Bitcoin is the future. It's gonna happen. We're still in this season of like, man, I don't know. I really like my horse, man. His name's Bob. Like, do you have a horse named Bob? No, mine's named like Billy Bob. Like, I got a Billy in there. He's like half goat, Like that's the conversation people were having in 1890. Like, I don't know about these automobile things. They're cool and all, but they're kind of slow. They're kind of clunky. I mean, I don't get to name them. I mean, it'd be kind of weird if I named a machine, right? And people are like, I'm not so sure. I don't know. And because they didn't have the wisdom to see, no, technology advances because it advances human flourishing. Then people didn't, go and say, Henry Ford, I'd like to buy 10% of your company for $100,000 or whatever it's worth, and become a billionaire in the 1920s, 1930s. People didn't realize that they could do that, and to a great degree they couldn't back then. But my point remains that people did not see it coming. People are surprised every single time a new piece of technology that it's duh, that's going to get adopted. Every time that comes out, people are surprised. It was always a well-duh moment that artificial intelligence was going to become mass adopted as soon as it became commercially viable. And in the last 2 years, it has. It's a no-duh moment that was always going to happen because it helps to enhance human flourishing, and capitalism works by enhancing human flourishing. A corrupt version of capitalism works by taking advantage of people, and that's true. But the capitalism at its core only works because you make a product that enhances human flourishing. The only reason that we make money is because I help you guys succeed. Bitcoin helps people succeed. Man woke up and spoke facts. Yep, it's true. All right. So look, long term, Bitcoin's gonna succeed in a massive way. We've been buying it for a long time. We'll keep buying it for the long term. Solo TV 84 said, donated $5, said, love it when you start quoting Bible. Stay bold in the name of Jesus Christ. We are in a wealth transfer. We are. We're in a wealth transfer from people that understand what God said about money, and from people that did not understand what God said about money to people that did, and people that do. God wants us to have control over our finances. And when we've outsourced the control over the finances to the state, we have made the state more powerful than it should be. And it's not an act of rebellion against the state, for God institutes all authorities, is what the Bible says, but it is an act of obeying God. It's not that we're trying to rebel against the government. It's that we're trying to obey God and subdue our money wherever we can. And one of the ways that we can do that is by buying Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, we have more control over the Bitcoin than we do if we have money in dollars. And it's not that we shouldn't use dollars, and I'm not trying to be a legalist here and apply the Bible where it doesn't say so. I'm just saying, and all I'm saying by this is that we have a fundamental human desire that is baked into our subconscious, baked into, better yet, not baked into our subconscious, baked into our spirit, that desires to have control and be faithful stewards over our wealth. JJ Dixon said, I'm ADD. Yep. If Amazon and Microsoft both vote to buy, it's going to be both vote to buy. I don't know why that was so hard to say. It's going to be massive. Yeah, and it's probably going to happen. Please some charts on alts. Give your view on them, Jeb. You're the finest TA out there. Oh, well, since you flatter me so much, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the alts. I know I've been on kind of a philosophical rant here for a while. Let's just kind of go down the list. Let's look at Ethereum, because it is helpful to look at the short term. And one of the big points I want to make here is that we do have a great there's a big wall right in front of us, and there is a great I would say possibility, but honestly, it's more of a probability at this point that we're going to see some pretty staunch resistance over the next week or two. I don't think that, let's put it this way, it's going to take a big movement for Bitcoin to really kick off and for the alts to really kick off. You can see they're all pretty much down today. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of coins hitting a strong level of resistance. Bitcoin and Ethereum both, which don't forget make up 2/3 of market cap, both of them are hitting a strong level of resistance and having trouble getting through it. Ethereum is hitting $4,000, having trouble breaking through it. That's our previous resistance level that we had set here early March of 2024. So earlier this year. We're having difficulty breaking through that. Once we do, it'll probably add 20% in value and go straight to 448, which is going to happen soon, right? Bitcoin is having trouble breaking through 100K, which means that the two largest assets in the market, making up 2/3 of global market capitalization for Bitcoin, for cryptocurrency, are both stuck at the same time. That's not really a good thing. That's like having a 4-wheel drive vehicle and your front axle and your back axle both are stuck at the same time. If one of them wasn't stuck, then they could push the other one out. But when Bitcoin and Ethereum are both stuck, that you need somebody to come pull you out. And that may be what's going on right now with crypto, is that crypto needs a little bit of a push, right? It needs something. It needs to get pulled out a little bit by something. And so we may be looking at the necessity for some kind of big event to come and push Bitcoin out and the cryptocurrency space out. So I don't know that we're just going to see this big, massive bullish movement right away. I think you're going to need to see some kind of catalyst, and it might need to be a pretty big catalyst, because this is a gigantic news story that Amazon investing in Bitcoin is under consideration, and it didn't do anything bullish at all for the price of Bitcoin. That tells me, here's an analogy. I like explaining things via way of analogy. That the fact that this news did not kick Bitcoin up to 110 is almost like if you're so tired because you've been awake for 2 days. If I gave you a Red Bull and it didn't give you a boot, it didn't do anything. You're so freaking tired that I just gave you a shot of adrenaline straight to the thigh, and it made no difference. That means, yeah, there's no kicking this puppy into higher gear. You really just need to go sleep. And that's kind of where I think Bitcoin is right now. This is a gigantic piece of news. And it didn't do anything to the price of Bitcoin. If anything, Bitcoin's crashing since it came out. That tells me that Bitcoin expended all of its energy and it's ready to go nighty-night. Bitcoin's ready for some sleep-ins. It's ready for some bedtime. Bitcoin needs a break. And so what does that mean? It means that Bitcoin will do two things from here. And you're going to say, Jeb, oh, you're just saying it'll go up or down. Well, yeah, because the market could always go up and down. The job of a technical analyst is not always to tell you whether it's going to go up or down. It's to tell you what will happen if it does either. So you can prepare for both. Because I want you to understand all future possibilities. What may happen over the next week to 2 weeks here is most likely, and the more likely scenario is this, Bitcoin and Ethereum will have a correction. If Bitcoin corrects, it'll probably correct back down to the high 80s. If Ethereum corrects, it'll probably correct back down to, let's see, and this is why I'm doing analysis on these two, not even so much the alts, because the alts are just going to follow. Ethereum will probably correct back down to 3,500, maybe even down to 2850, right? Relatively large corrections probably in the near-term future. This kind of tells it all. This news came out 3 hours ago. In the last 3 hours, Bitcoin's doing nothing but dumping. Right. In fact, pretty much when this news came out, we started crashing over the last hour. Tried to get above 100K, failed. We got a lower high. Right. We've had multiple lower highs above 100K over and over. We've had 4 of them. In fact, we had a high up here at 104, then a high at 102, then a high at 101, then a high at 100,500 bucks. All of that taking place in the same time that we see Amazon is considering buying Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is probably going to go through a pretty big drop pretty soon. The less likely scenario, I'd say probably 20 to 30% likelihood, 60 to 70% likelihood that we're just going to flash crash. Not so much flash crash, but we're going to drop for a couple weeks here, have some consolidation, some correction. The less likely scenario is this. Something happens. Bitcoin takes off like a bat out of hell and rallies up to 125 grand. What happens there is that the bull market probably ends earlier, because Bitcoin does not have the strength for this. That's a little bit like somebody ran a marathon. The next day, they got to get up and do it again. They're going to injure themselves, and they're going to be out for 2 years. So if Bitcoin wants to go and run to 125, it could do it with wartime emergency power. But if it does that, it's going to get injured. In other words, a good coach would say, you need to go sleep for 3 days because you just ran a marathon. If Bitcoin was an athlete and it had a coach, the coach would say, go rest. Or else. Not I'm going to hurt you, but your body's going to hurt itself. Right? And so a good coach would tell Bitcoin, you need to correct here down to 87. You need to trade sideways for a few weeks. You need to take a breather. You need to give time for people to build confidence that we're going to maintain these levels. You just in general need to consolidate. And so that's what I'm telling you Bitcoin should do. What Bitcoin is probably going to do is that. It's probably going to consolidate for a while. And that's a great time to be acquiring more. I hope Bitcoin goes down to 87. I'm trying to acquire coins, plural, and it's easier when the market goes down. So I hope that Bitcoin does drop. And I also feel fine saying that because the fact that it's dropping means people are selling and taking profits. What I'm hoping here, what I would love to see happen here is that people rode this up on a trade and they're selling it and taking profits, and they're selling it to people who are buying and investing like me for the long term and don't care anyway. So everybody's just making money and nobody's getting screwed and being left holding the bag. I hope that's what happens. Now, part of the reason for that, Bitcoin's stuck at 100, Ethereum's stuck at 4,000. Solana's also stuck at all-time high, right? Don't forget. Solana is the 5th largest cryptocurrency in the game. So it's got a lot of market cap, right? It's about like 2-3% of market cap. So it's doing the same thing as Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're both, all three of them, stuck under a similar level. So that means a couple of things, right? It means, one, the market needs a correction, is probably going to get it. It needs some consolidation, is probably going to get it, starting now, which is good. Good timing. Really good timing. We shattered 100,000, so it won't be as hard to break. We didn't hit 100,000 flat and then not break it. That would have really been rough. Because then we're like, ooh, can we break above 100K? I don't know. And we probably would have dropped a lot farther. We did break 100K, which is great. But we also need to consolidate. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, the big leaders of the space, are probably going to consolidate for a time. Even XRP, which is the only other actual cryptocurrency, not including Tether as a stablecoin, in the top in the top 5. Even XRP here, it needs to consolidate too. It just broke above $2, right? Bitcoin just broke above 100K. XRP just broke above $2. It probably needs a rest period also. We just had a really strong sprint. We need a rest. And so there are two things that can happen from here, right? Either one, we just rally even though we shouldn't, and then we injure ourselves, and the bull market doesn't last as long, which would be very unfortunate. A little bit like an athlete playing themselves too hard one season, and then they're knocked out, and they knock out a 10-year career, and they cut it short at 2, right? That happens in the NFL all the time. People push themselves way too hard to get one goal, and they injure themselves, and their career's over. But they got the touchdown. Like, it wasn't worth it. Even to win the Super Bowl, it's not worth losing your entire career over. So we don't want Bitcoin to do that. We want it to consolidate. But there's something else you should consider here. As Bitcoin stays below 100K, as Solana stays below 250, whatever, the all-time high, as Ethereum stays below 4,000, tension builds. It's a little bit like an earthquake, a fault line. If you know how earthquakes work, you have two tectonic plates shifting past each other. And what happens is they're pressing into each other with an enormous amount of force, because we're literally talking about the Earth's crust here. They're pushing into each other, but they're also sliding. And so the tension builds up and up and up and up and up. And the more friction there is between the plates, the more the tension builds before it breaks, and then boom. And that's where you have an earthquake. The Earth quakes. It moves, right? You can look up pictures online. In fact, I'll just show you. Right? I'll show you what an earthquake under like a fence looks like, right? If you've ever seen, have you ever seen a picture like this? See this? Let's see if I can, fence, right? You can see it on fences. The fence moved, right? You see this? The fence is here. That part of the fence is over there because the ground beneath it literally moved. The fault line is right there, right? Here's a picture. The fence moved because there was a fault line. The fence moved. You see this? You see these fences? Like the crack in the ground? That's the fault line right there. Right? And so it builds up tension, and then boom, it moves. And so as Bitcoin sits here below $100,000, as Ethereum sits here below $4,000, and as Solana sits here below all-time high, you've got 3 different major coins that are sitting right beneath a major all-time high. So in a way, the coin is moving against the resistance and is creating this fault, and eventually the fault will be found, and it'll shift and it'll break. And the longer we stay below that fault, the more pressure goes into that building up earthquake, and then boom. And so what I think is going to happen here, knock on wood, we'll see if it does. What I think is going to happen here is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are going to sit here below their all-time highs for a while. Ethereum below 4,000, Solana and Bitcoin right below all-time high. We're going to continue to get news like Trump inaugurated. We're going to continue to get news like Amazon might be buying Bitcoin. We're going to continue to get news like there might be another cryptocurrency ETF, and Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana will stay put. And you're going to enter into a season for the next couple of weeks where they don't move much. And then, one day, it's going to break. All hell's going to break loose. And people that didn't watch the stream are going to be surprised because, oh my gosh, the market's moving again. Why is that? Because it sat there and it built up pressure. And it built up pressure and it built up pressure and it built up pressure. And finally, it was too much. And then the bulls just took off like crazy. And Bitcoin's going to rally up to 125. Feel free to clip this, post it, refer back to it in 2-3 months when it happens. Before you know it, by the end of Q1, Bitcoin will probably be trading at $125,000. And most of the rally up to 125 will probably happen within the span of a week to 10 days. Again, feel free to clip this. Go ahead. Clip it, post it. I have a lot of confidence that's what's going to happen. And so I'd love to hear your opinions on that in the comments. That's where I think we're going. So altcoin analysis, it just follows that. The altcoins are going to follow with that, right? Think there'll be a Christmas pump? Probably not. Could be. It very much could be. I don't really see why. Not hating on the philosophical part though, but need some altcoin guidance. Yeah, absolutely. And so, no, and totally. And we've got to do all of it, right? We can't just talk about the reason behind Bitcoin. We've also got to talk about the actual practicality. I try to be a very practical individual, but also try not to leave out the why behind things because it's important that we have a total understanding of things. So the practical application is this. If that's what's going to happen, then the practical application is this. Ask yourself, are there any assets in this in coin market cap that you want to hold for the ultra long term? I'm talking 5, 7, 10 years plus. If so, begin dollar cost averaging them on a regular fixed basis. If you have not done that already, then slash and burn your expenses until you have the ability to find some margin in your budget to do so. We have a lot of margin in our budget because we run a business that is very profitable, and so we have the ability to acquire a lot of coin. And so we do. So we buy Bitcoin for the ultra long term. We also invest in the U.S. stock market. Although I will go ahead and let you in on something. We invest even more in Bitcoin right now than we are in stocks because Bitcoin looks so incredibly promising. As far as the altcoins are concerned, pretty much all of them are going to go on a massive rally. Like, we can talk targets here, but every single thing that is actually a decent project is going to rally a lot. like a lot. Cardano's going to hit all-time high. Avalanche is going to go to $100. Chainlink's going to go to 50. Polkadot's going to go to 20. I mean, take the current prices, double them, and it's going to go higher than that, right? So as far as specific altcoin guidance, here's the deal. Invest in assets that you understand, that you have the bandwidth and the ability to keep up with and understand. Find a way to invest in them on a consistent fixed schedule. And no, I don't think the altcoin season has ended, because I barely believe that altcoin season has even started. I think this cycle is still very much in its early days. I think a lot of these altcoins are going to 2, 3, 4x. After they're up, say 150, 200%, 300%, you can yank the principal, start selling them at a big profit, right? So that's kind of the way to go about that. It's really simple. Now, we can get more complicated and talk about specific altcoins, but ultimately, I think all of them are going to move as one big mass. They're going to move as one big clump. Specific guidance, Cardano's melting faces right now with its growth in TVL. So I'm really excited about Cardano. Really, really excited about Cardano. Tempted to even acquire some more. Ethereum, I'm excited about it, but I'm not as excited about Ethereum as I am about Cardano. So we have a lot of Ethereum, but I'm not acquiring any. I am thinking about acquiring some Cardano. Solana's probably going to go to $500 to $1,000. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all of these altcoins are going to succeed massively. So just, invest in the ones that you believe in. Hold on to your Bitcoin. Yep. ChatGPT says altcoins will rally around Christmas. Pull up ChatGPT. ChatGPT is extremely helpful, and we actually use it to pick colors and stuff sometimes. But the problem with ChatGPT is it basically is just it's a glorified web crawler. It pulls information from the internet. It's not actually making its own conclusions. It's pulling things from the internet, and then it's kind of like pulling them together. A lot of people think there's going to be a rally around Christmas, and there could be. There very well could be. I mean, that's several weeks from now. I could totally see that. Are you still going to sell most alts except for Ethereum? That's the current plan, although I am thinking about holding on to some of them for the longer term. I am thinking about holding on to XRP, Solana, and Cardano for the longer term. The rest of them I probably will. But I'm not sure. I might not. I mean, I don't know where I would put the money other than just put it into cash, buy them back. So maybe I won't. I might not. I may not. But the current plan is to sell them and throw it into other investments. I want to get into real estate too. That's one of the things we want to do. All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to check out our sponsors, Uphold and NordVPN. Great people, great companies that are going to help you to flourish in the cryptocurrency space. Look, NordVPN has some deals going on I don't want you to miss out on. Make sure to go, if you have not already, to nordvpn.com/Jeb and get access to their Black Friday deal, now kind of Cyber Monday deal. This deal is going on because it's just really successful. Nord's succeeding. You guys are succeeding at work. So this deal is still going on. You got a 30-day money-back refund guarantee. If you've not signed up for NordVPN, you should. They're going to help keep you safe as you browse online. You don't want a hacker or a thief coming and stealing all your wealth. That would not be financially sovereign of you. You don't want to let that happen. So NordVPN is going to help keep you safe. Sign up for Nord if you have not already. And also, make sure to sign up for Uphold. Look, uphold.com. One of the best exchanges in the game and one of the best places for you to make your home in cryptocurrency. You need a Nexus account that everything else revolves around. Uphold is that hub, and all the other accounts that you have are the spokes. Make Uphold the core where you're doing your dollar cost averaging and getting all these different assets. It is a fantastic place to sign up and start trading cryptocurrency, specifically your fiat to cryptocurrency gateway. This should be your fiat to cryptocurrency gateway, the place where I see Uphold fitting into your financial life. So check them out. Links down below. And also, if you haven't already, check out Blowfin. If you want to do some leverage trading, join the War of the Whales. It's still going on. There's a prize pool awaiting you. If you go ahead and sign up for the War of the Whales, you still got a few more days. It's going for 3 more days. Another 3 days for the competition period. There is currently $600,000 of prizes being unlocked, and our team has $3,600 going towards it. We have over almost $100 million of trading that has taken place. If you join our team, you can go ahead and join our team, get some trading. You can get some pretty massive rewards by signing up for Blowfin with our link in the description box down below. If you have not already, make sure to go ahead and do that. And then after the War of the Whales is over, we're going to have other benefits for you guys that are under our affiliate link. So we got some cashback bonuses, some spin the wheel stuff going on. So make sure to sign up so you can make some money. Blowfin's an extremely amazing cryptocurrency exchange, and one of the things I like about it also is that you can actually generate some yield, some APY on your Bitcoin, which is really cool because Bitcoin kind of just sits there and doesn't do anything. You can generate 3%. Now it's a 360-day lockup, but if you want to do that, you could go ahead and make 3% on your Bitcoin. Check it out if you're not planning on selling in the next year, no matter what. Something that you might be interested in. They've obviously got leverage trading, spot trading, ton of different exchanges. So make sure to check out Blowfin with the link in the description box down below. Really appreciate all that they've done for the channel and really liking their exchange. Let's see. Hey, Jeb, you okay with us reposting this live stream? I'm okay with you reposting clips of it. I mean, don't just download the whole thing and repost it, but definitely if you want to clip it, go for it. I love getting the message of what we're talking about out here. Go for it. If you're going to don't repost the whole thing, just link to it, right? So that people are driven to the channel. But if you want to clip it, by all means, YouTube's got a clipping functionality. You can clip it, post it. That's fine. Go ahead. 30 million in shorts about to be underwater. Yep, I am by the way, I'm definitely not telling a single one of you to short the market. I would not do that. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. Do not short the market right now. Please don't do that. I would also encourage everyone to share this stream and spread the hashtag FinSolveWays. Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate all of you for tuning in. We got a lot of work to do. We got some videos coming out that we got to work on, so I'm going to wrap it out. If you enjoyed today's stream, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, choose to follow the Financial Sovereignty Way. Join the Financial Sovereignty Academy, by the way. We're working on some content over there right now. You can find the link for FinSolve Academy down below. I'm going to wrap it out, guys, but before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.